little bit earlier about where we go from now. But let's take a quick break, listen
Sure.
to a song, and we'll come back and talk about what we can do now with the cannabis apology and what a real inquiry would look like. Okay, we're back with Red Town Radio, and Kevin and Annett, we're speaking with about the residential schools in Canada and some other issues that he's working on in Canada and elsewhere. And Kevin, I had at one time put a blog on your MySpace page.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, I'm a survivor of residential school, and my mother is too. And I don't know if you had a chance to read that, but one of the things that happened to her, you know, of course, was she was forbidden to speak her language, and her mouth was washed out with soap. And isolation was a big tool that was used, you know, for punishment. They were isolated from their families, and the other thing was that she was made to take castor oil once a week, and she passed that on to us kids. And so I think the level of secondary, what is the right, second generation, in my case, is that my mother kind of had a detachment. You know, she didn't know how to love us kids because she hadn't had that in her life, and I think, you know, that's going back to that song and what you're kind of dealing with the second generation survivors, and that powerful story you told about the man who found the strength to quit drinking. I'm sure, you know, that we wish that all of those kind of stories would happen, but that's not the case, is it?
No, but you know, one of William's, the guy who stopped drinking, William, his name is, he's a spirit dancer, and he, you know, as he told me once, he often appears on my radio program in Vancouver, and he told me once that the reason he survived, they had him at age 8, they had him on a rack in the basement. If you can, like, out of the Middle Ages, you know, where you would stretch somebody on a rack, they had that set up that they would torture the kids on. And he survived that. He saw somebody die on that rack, another young boy. And he said the reason he was able to survive that and was because he had been taught at a young age about his own traditions. He remembers his language. He remembered his father was a spirit dancer too. And he said, I've stayed in touch with the spirit of my people, and that's what's kept me alive. And when you lose touch with that spirit, that's when you start dying from the inside out. And so I'm kind of grateful that people like William remind me of that fact all the time, because I wonder, you know, how could my people have done this? Well, it's because they lost their spirit too. I don't think that white people are innately evil. I think something happened to us. And I know that centuries ago in Europe, the trauma that we faced over there, you know, losing our land and language, actually to the same British Empire. You know, my people in Ireland and Scotland went through this too. We had to kind of make a choice: either hold on to who you are, or you give that up, and then you try to assimilate into the dominant culture. But look what you end up having to do as a result. I think it's kind of a message for white people too about this, and we survive by remembering who we are. You know, and I've had a lot of people remind me of that, and I'm grateful for that.
That is something that a lot of the kids here didn't get a chance to have taught. Because in my mother's case, she was taken when she was 5, you know, and a lot were even younger than that, and taken to boarding school.
It's true. Yeah, in a lot of cases, people weren't even given a chance to stay in touch with that. And you know, we talk about that often on our radio program about how do you get in touch with your traditions when they weren't passed on? Like a lot of you know, when I show our film Unrepentant in a lot of Native communities, I'll often get younger people come up and say, we didn't know anything about these residential schools because our parents would never talk about it. You know, it's kind of like veterans of a war. They can never talk about what really went on. It's the same thing. This was a war, and the children who survived it, I mean, there's no way they could ever broach this with their own kids. So the way you learn is not just the facts, but I think that, you know, we carry this knowledge of who we are right at a cellular level, right within ourselves, and it's a matter of kind of